Fed single-handedly has killed the housing market.
What would you do if you had to make the choice to pay rent or cover your kids' school fees? Millions of Americans are facing this juggling act every month. It's always a trade-off: rent or school supplies, rent or groceries. Despite their best efforts to stay financially stable, many come home to find notices demanding payment within 30 days, plus a late fee or threatening eviction. A common thought is every month you try to budget, but you still come up short. Well, this month, at least we have $13 left. Can you imagine being in that position? This story isn't unique. Millions of Americans, particularly people of color, are struggling with these painful choices as they struggle with soaring rent costs. A perfect storm of rising prices drives this crisis due to inflation, a severe shortage of affordable housing, and the expiration of pandemic relief measures. These financial strains mean that every month families have to make impossible decisions, prioritizing one essential need over another. It's a heartbreaking reality where paying rent often means sacrificing other crucial expenses, pushing them closer to the edge of eviction. The struggle is real, and it's affecting more and more people as the cost of living continues to rise. Did you know that half of the renters in the US are spending more than 30% of their income on rent? The latest data from the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, released in January, paints a rather grim picture. In 2022, a record high of 22.4 million renter households were financially stretched to their limits. Affordable units, defined as those with rents under $600, have dwindled from 7.2 million to 2.1 million, fewer than a decade earlier. The scarcity has led to a dramatic rise in eviction filings and a record number of people becoming homeless. It's one of the worst years we've ever seen, said Whitney Airgood Obricki, a senior research associate at the Harvard Center. She noted that the level of cost-burdened households in 2022 hadn't been seen since the Great Recession in 2008, when 10 million Americans lost their homes to foreclosure. After a decade of limited progress, state and federal lawmakers across the U.S. are making housing a top priority in 2024. They are pulling out all the stops, including proposals to enact eviction protections, institute zoning reforms, cap annual rent increases, and dedicate tens of billions of dollars towards building more affordable housing. These measures aim to tackle the crisis head-on, addressing the root causes and providing relief to millions of struggling renters. The hope is that these efforts will make a significant difference, easing the financial burden on households and preventing more people from facing the consequences of eviction and homelessness. For renters earning less than $30,000 a year, it's a harsh reality. After paying rent and utilities, they are often left with just $310 a month on average. Whitney Airgood Obricki highlights the tough choices these cost-burdened renters face. You can certainly imagine the kinds of trade-offs that have to happen, she said. They're spending less on things like food, healthcare, and retirement, which has significant implications for their long-term well-being. The hardest hit by these rent increases are those who can least afford it. The implications are severe, forcing people to cut back on essentials like food and healthcare just to keep a roof over their heads. This growing crisis is proof of the urgent need for comprehensive solutions to provide relief and stability for millions of struggling renters across the country. Imagine living in a peaceful mobile home park by a pond, only to be hit with a sudden rent increase of over 40%. This is the harsh reality for residents at the American Mobile Home Park, many of whom are seniors or living on fixed incomes. She's dealing with a $345 monthly rent increase on top of her $200 medication costs and the expense of twice yearly MRIs to monitor her brain tumor. How am I going to pay for that? She wonders, struggling to balance her limited budget. With only $300 left each month for other necessities, she's faced with impossible choices. Probably less groceries. I certainly can't cut back on my medications. Another tenant, 72-year-old Ann Urbanovich, a department store cashier, is facing similar rent hikes. The rising cost of living and the lack of affordable housing are issues that demand immediate attention to prevent further hardship for millions of Americans. "My kids, they think I'm Superwoman," Monique Gant confessed. "But when I take a shower and put on some music, I cry." The weight of eviction and the instability that comes with it has taken a heavy toll on her and her family. Her two boys, aged 10 and 11, have started getting into fights at school and on the bus, and they're just not as engaged in their classes anymore. Sadly, Monique's situation is not unique. Every year, around 40% of those facing eviction are children. That's 2.9 million kids. Nick Grates at Princeton University's Eviction Lab has studied this issue extensively. We can see that things rarely fall off for children that are experiencing eviction. Grates said, "The impact on kids' mental health and development can be devastating, but there's a glimmer of hope. Lawmakers are trying to tackle the housing crisis from different angles. In Congress, there's a push to expand a federal program that gives tax credits to developers who agree to set aside units for low-income tenants. This could result in 200,000 more affordable homes. There's also a call for rental assistance and a significant boost in funding for housing vouchers. On the state level, Colorado lawmakers are stepping up too. They've proposed a bill to limit the reasons landlords can evict tenants. Other bills aim to scrap the filing fee for tenants in eviction cases and roll back local rules that prevent homeowners from renting out separate units on their property. "If we don't act now," said Colorado Governor Jared Polis in his State of the State address, which focused heavily on housing, "we will soon face a spiraling point of no return." Other states are feeling the pressure too. In Washington, there is a bill being considered that would ensure 10% of new housing around transit hubs is affordable for low-income residents. Another proposal aims to limit rent increases to no more than 5% annually during a rental agreement term. Massachusetts is also taking big steps. Lawmakers there are proposing a $4 billion investment budget in affordable housing, addressing the state's estimate that more than 200,000 additional homes will be needed by 2030. If this passes, it would mark the largest housing investment in the state's history. The fear of not having a place to move looms large, as finding affordable alternatives seems nearly impossible for many. What do you think of the situation? Let us know in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for more.